It's okay, sweetie. We'll get another one someday. The young mother's voice trembled as she knelt beside her daughter's wheelchair, watching the rainbow lollipop roll across the sidewalk toward the busy street. 4-year-old Iris looked up with eyes too understanding for her age, her small hand patting her mother's cheek. "Don't be sad, Mama. It's just candy." But it wasn't just candy. 29-year-old Shelby Morrison knew that lollipop represented the last $2 in her wallet, the small treat she'd bought to celebrate Iris's successful physical therapy session, money that should have gone toward bus fare home. A shadow fell across them as a man in an expensive suit bent down, retrieving the lollipop before it reached the curb. He examined it carefully, then looked at the little girl in the wheelchair with remarkable gentleness. "I believe this belongs to you," he said softly, pulling a fresh lollipop from his pocket, the same rainbow swirl. "But since yours touched the ground, how about a trade?" Iris's face lit up like sunrise. "Really? For me?" "Really?" The man's smile transformed his tired features. "I always keep candy in my pocket. Old habit from a long time ago." Shelby started to protest. Strangers, charity, pride, but something in the man's eyes stopped her. They held a deep, familiar sadness she recognized instantly, the look of someone carrying invisible weight. "Thank you," she managed, her voice thick. "You didn't have to." "I wanted to." He handed Iris the lollipop, then hesitated. "I'm Dalton, by the way. Dalton Cross." The name meant nothing to Shelby, but she extended her hand anyway. "Shelby Morrison, and this is Iris." "Pretty name," Dalton said to Iris, "like the flower." "Mama says I'm her rainbow after the storm," Iris announced proudly, already unwrapping her treat. Dalton's expression shifted, something raw and painful crossing his face before he masked it. "Your mama's right. Rainbows they're pretty special." What Shelby didn't know, couldn't have known, was that Dalton Cross was the billionaire CEO of Cross Pharmaceuticals, a man whose face appeared on financial magazines and whose wealth could have bought 1,000 lollipops, or that he'd been standing on that street corner for 20 minutes working up the courage to walk into his empty penthouse where his wife Victoria waited with her usual cold indifference. What Dalton didn't know was that Shelby's husband, Iris's father, had died 2 years ago in a factory accident, leaving them with nothing but medical bills from the accident that had left Iris paralyzed from the waist down. Two strangers, both drowning in different oceans of loneliness, connected by a moment of simple kindness. Over the following weeks, Dalton found himself walking past that same corner every evening, hoping to see them again. He told himself it was coincidence, but truthfully, something about Iris's joy over a simple lollipop had cracked something open inside him, something he'd kept carefully locked away. His marriage to Victoria had been a merger disguised as love. She'd wanted his money and status. He'd wanted to prove to his late father that he could build something lasting. 3 years in, they barely spoke. She spent his money freely, but gave nothing of herself, their penthouse a beautiful prison they both inhabited separately. On the 7th evening, Dalton saw them. Shelby was pushing Iris's wheelchair slowly, clearly exhausted, and Iris was crying softly. Dalton approached carefully. "Everything okay?" Shelby looked up, surprised to see him, then embarrassed. "Oh, Mr. Cross, I'm sorry, we're fine. Just, the hospital said Mama can't afford my surgery, the one that might help me walk again?" Iris whispered, tears streaming down her small face. Dalton's heart stopped. "Surgery?" Shelby's face flushed with shame and frustration. "It's experimental, not covered by insurance. We'll figure something out, sweetheart," she said to Iris, though her voice cracked with the lie. Every instinct in Dalton screamed to write a check to fix this immediately, but he'd learned that pride was sometimes all people had left, and he needed to be careful. "I have a proposition," he said slowly. "My company, Cross Pharmaceuticals, we fund medical research. We're always looking for case studies for new treatments. Would you consider letting Iris be part of a trial? All expenses covered, of course, as part of the research." Shelby stared at him, suspicion and hope warring in her eyes. "Why would you do this?" Dalton met her gaze honestly. Because I can. Because watching you two together reminds me what matters. And because, his voice dropped, because I had a daughter once. She would have been Iris's age. The past tense hung heavy in the air. What happened? Shelby asked gently. Stillborn. 5 years ago. My wife and we never recovered. She blamed the doctors, blamed me, blamed God. Eventually, she just stopped caring about anything, including our marriage. Shelby's expression softened with understanding. I'm so sorry. So am I, Dalton said quietly. But watching Iris smile over that lollipop, seeing how much you love her, it reminded me that joy still exists, even after loss. Please, let me help, not as charity, but as something that helps us both. The surgery was scheduled for 6 weeks later. During that time, Dalton found himself visiting Shelby and Iris regularly, always with a legitimate reason. Paperwork to sign, pre-surgery consultations, therapy assessments. But the truth was simpler. Their small apartment felt more like home than his penthouse ever had. Iris adored him, and Dalton discovered a capacity for love he'd thought died with his unnamed daughter. He played simple games with Iris, read her stories, listened to her dreams of dancing someday. Shelby watched this growing bond with cautious wonder. You're good with her, she said one evening as Iris dozed off during a movie. She's easy to love, Dalton replied, then caught himself. I know what you mean. Shelby's smile was sad. Her father was like that too. He saw the best in everyone. When the accident happened, when they told us Iris would never walk, he held her and said, "Then we'll teach you to fly instead." He believed she could do anything. He was right, Dalton said firmly. She can. A week before the surgery, Victoria appeared at Dalton's office with divorce papers. I want half of everything, she said coldly, and I want it now. I'm tired of pretending. Dalton looked at her. This stranger he'd married, this woman who'd never loved him, and felt nothing but relief. Fine, take it. I don't care anymore. Victoria's eyes narrowed. You've met someone, that poor woman with the crippled child? The casual cruelty in her voice ignited something fierce in Dalton. Don't you ever speak about them that way. And no, I haven't met someone. I remembered what it feels like to be human, something you never understood. You're a fool, Victoria spat, wasting your money on people who can't give you anything back. They already have, Dalton said quietly. They gave me hope. The surgery was successful beyond anyone's expectations. 3 months of intensive physical therapy later, Iris took her first assisted steps, her face radiant with determination. Dalton was there, holding one hand, while Shelby held the other, tears streaming down both their faces. "I'm doing it, Mama! Mr. Dalton, look! I'm walking!" "I see you, sweetheart," Dalton managed through his tears. "I see you." Later, as Iris rested, exhausted but triumphant, Shelby turned to Dalton in the hospital corridor. "I need to know something," she said quietly. "That research trial story, was it real?" Dalton hesitated, then shook his head. "No, I paid for it everything personally. I'm sorry I lied, but I knew you'd never accept it otherwise." He waited for anger, for rejection. Instead, Shelby's eyes filled with tears. "Why? Why would you do this for strangers?" "Because you stopped being strangers the moment Iris smiled at that lollipop," said Dalton simply. "Because helping her heal helped me heal too. Because," he struggled for words, "because somewhere in heaven I like to think my daughter is glad I met yours." Shelby reached for his hand, not romantically, but with deep understanding. "Your daughter would be proud of you, I'm sure of it." "So would your husband," Dalton replied. "You've raised an extraordinary child." They stood together in comfortable silence, two broken people who'd found unexpected grace in each other's company.
2 years later, Dalton sat in the audience of Iris's first dance recital. The 6-year-old still used a walker sometimes, still had hard days, but she'd defied every limitation placed on her. Beside him, Shelby whispered, "I still can't believe this is real." "Believe it," Dalton smiled. "She earned every step." On stage, Iris twirled carefully, her face glowing with pure joy. When she spotted Dalton in the crowd, she waved excitedly, nearly losing her balance before recovering with a giggle. After the performance, Iris rushed over, still unsteady but unstoppable. "Mr. Dalton, look, I'm walking." "I see you, sweetheart," Dalton managed through his tears. "I see you." Later, as Iris rested, exhausted but triumphant, Shelby turned to Dalton in the hospital corridor. "I need to know something. My mama says your wife left because she forgot how to be happy. But you're happy now, right? With us?" Shelby started to intervene, but Dalton held up a gentle hand. "Yes, Iris, with you and your mama, I'm very happy. You taught me something important, that family isn't always about who you're born to. Sometimes it's about who chooses to love you, and who you choose to love back." "Like you chose us?" Iris asked. "Like we chose each other," Dalton corrected, looking at Shelby with quiet understanding. Shelby's eyes glistened. "We did, didn't we?" "Best decision I ever made," Dalton said softly. As the sun set over the city, Dalton walked Shelby and Iris home, something he did most evenings now. His penthouse sat empty, divorce finalized, but he'd never felt less alone. "Same time tomorrow?" Iris asked, hopefully. "You promised to teach me checkers." "Same time tomorrow," Dalton confirmed. "I wouldn't miss it." After Iris went inside, Shelby lingered on the doorstep with Dalton. "You know what still amazes me?" she said quietly. "That day I thought we'd lost everything. Even a $2 lollipop felt like the end of the world. But losing it led to finding you, to finding hope." Dalton smiled, the expression now natural instead of rare. "I was standing on that corner trying to remember why life mattered. Then a little girl dropped a lollipop, and somehow everything made sense again." "Thank you," Shelby whispered, "for seeing us, for staying." "Thank you," Dalton replied, "for letting me." In a world that often measures worth by wealth and status, the richest moments come from the simplest acts of kindness. A billionaire who stopped for a dropped lollipop found something money couldn't buy: connection, purpose, and the family his heart had been searching for. Sometimes what we've lost leads us exactly where we need to be. And sometimes the smallest gesture, picking up a child's fallen candy, can change everything. Because true wealth isn't measured in dollars, it's measured in moments of grace, in choosing to see another person's pain and choosing to help ease it. In remembering that we're all just human beings, trying our best, hoping someone will notice when we fall. The greatest fortune isn't what we accumulate, it's what we give away freely, especially to those who can never pay us back.
If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.